Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Propagandacast and another Monday novice fight. Yes, indeed, we shall be seeing novices fight for their lives, or at least for their dignities. No, not dignities, but you get the thought. It's certainly going to get ugly, it's certainly going to get very untactical at times, it's certainly going to make you cry, and for some of you it might also make you scratch and think, well, at least I'm not going to do that, and what can I learn better from all of this? So, of course, we are fighting here a 1 vs 1 on the Sturzdorf. It's going to be featuring something some people have been asking for some time. It's the Panzer Elite. Yes, indeed, they've just gotten a lot of good games, at least not good games that could sort of feature elsewhere. But here we go for the Monday novice fight. Yes, indeed, this is going to be grim. But here we are, Kaltraoir, I suppose it would be pronounced, fighting for the Panzer Elite. First SS Panzer Division reconnaissance units, and opposing them shall be Akula77 fighting for the Brits, 43rd Infantry Division. And let us get right down to it. This is going to feature some, well, rather unfortunate things, mostly in the theme of lack of aggression, a lack of actually doing any bloody reconnaissance, and lack of, well, occasionally common sense. But dual Panzer Grenadiers probably will be on the way. At least one team is coming out right there. Yes, there we go. Brits going right there, and apparently he's not using his recon section to secure any sort of favorable territory right away. He's just using it to sort of casually seize territory, as he might if it were pioneers he was using or something else like that. And he wasn't playing as the Brits. Panzer Grenadiers marching outwards. Gewehr 43 is being equipped so far. Nothing that really stands out as being absolutely oh god. Lieutenant ready. Again, all quiet, all so nice. And now we're seeing a second Kettenkrad again. Not an unusual strategy and start versus the British. You know, a second Kettenkrad be able to seize territory faster than those damn Brits. The damn Tommies. Gewehr 43 ready. Brits heading eastwards. Truck still making troops, not packing up. This fuel point, rather conveniently placed right next to it, being completely ignored. Slightly less. Good, I'd say. Kettenkrad ready. Panzer Grenadiers marching close up to each other. And already here we are seeing one problem. What is that? Well, he's basically clumping up his troops next to victory points. I mean, they're both standing out in the open. There's absolutely no point in it. Yes, you want them to support each other, but then place the one in cover. Cover, you know, stuff like this where there's a yellow shield or a building or some green right there. Again, cover. Don't just clump up your troops right away. I mean, that's really a good indicator or anything. Except an easy target for your opponent. Panzer Grenadiers heading eastwards, now splitting up to these points again. I mean, when you have two Kettenkrads, there's not much point in doing it. I mean, you rather use them to sort of hunt down your opponent when he's, for example, like this, rather vulnerable, spread out, and a bloody easy target. But it doesn't quite seem to fall into Kaltraoir's mind. Again, he's basically just using them to seize territory, and Panzer Grenadiers aren't the fastest. Never mind that he took a huge detour with this Panzer Grenadiers here, and end up doing the exact same thing as he did with the previous victory point. Just stand about at the point, doing absolutely nothing. Reconnaissance chaps moving in from the north. Headquarters command truck packing up. That, of course, leaves one infantry section right there, rather on its own. Reconnaissance section charging across open ground against 6 Panzer Grenadiers, some with Gewehr 43s. That's what I'd call a pretty bad idea. And already 1 down, 2 down. Need to get out of there rather swiftly. Headquarters command truck is moving rather swiftly towards, I wager, this point. Another down, only 2 left. Panzer Grenadiers out in the open. A lieutenant seems to have joined them. Another down for the Brits, leaving behind only 1 man and a lieutenant. I'd recommend they get out of there before that's 400 manpower lost or a lieutenant lost. Either of that will not be very good. And who shall be the first? We lost 1 Panzer Grenadier, finally goes down. Again, not the best engagement, and there we go, lieutenant down. Why didn't he retreat? I have absolutely no idea. And there we go, finally retreating 1 reconnaissance section. Not the best of fights at all. Kettenkrad coming under firm right here. Might want to move it a bit closer to the point. There we go. Somehow. And Brits seizing what they can right here in the west with another infantry section which has not been upgraded. Although some panzer grenades are being sent in to react. Kampfgruppe company is up, mortar half-track on the way. And there we go, digging in right away. What are our panzer grenadier friends doing? The exact same thing as they did previously, and not following up to say, oh hey, there might be an easy target up here. We need a bit of reconnaissance. No, they're just standing about. Again, 2 teams, 1 point, doing absolutely nothing really spectacular. So again, rather bit of a problem there. Again, you shouldn't be doing that. That's really tying up your units in a manner that's doing absolutely no good for yourself. And of course giving your opponent time to bloody well dig in. Which is particularly a problem when you're fighting the Brits. That's the last thing you want them to do. And particularly when you're the Panzer Elite and you don't really have the sort of force to really mount a direct assault. Of course you can flank about here, but let's see how that goes. And now a mortar emplacement going up. Still absolutely no interdiction, no attempt at being stopped by the Panzer Elite. They're just hanging about, doing not an awful lot. And this infantry section is basically just moving about unhindered as well. Not really a lot promising right here. Getting across those seizing territory as they can.
Infantry section ready.
Defensive operations on the way. Nothing that could really actually give them an advantage. Say going straight for the Panzer Support Company, perhaps a Panzer IV, and then just charge right into the British base. No. Absolutely nothing like that. Half track with the mortar moving about. Completely unsupported. Again, not really what you want to see at all. Casualty cleaning station going up by Akula. Panzer grenades moving out in a slight horde formation. Mortar half track under fire. Incendiary landing right there at the British base. So of course he knows there's something there. But again, he's not really reacting much. And he probably could have figured out by looking at the fuel point right here in the fog of war. You can usually see that something's right there next to pennant. Of course you can just try to take it and of course get a report that you can't. And now he's retreating all of his panzer. Why is he doing that? I mean, again, don't. I have absolutely no idea why he's doing that. It might have been a misclick, I suppose, but there's absolutely no reason to do that. I mean, yes, there's mortar rounds falling in, but they can't land that far. Kittencrad standing about. Half-track being forced away. Wait, why did it click there? Half-track being forced away. Only 2 kills. Brit not really doing much either. At all. And we're seeing a Panzer Jäger command and a Panzer Support command, no attempt at perhaps getting a Panzer IV out of Hotchkiss to lead the assault with what few units might actually be used for that. No, sorry, Bob. Kampfgruppe Company upgrade also ready, meaning of course Panzer Schrecks. Are we seeing any actual attacks? Nope. Most distressing. Another Panzer Grenadier getting ready. That's going to be 5 teams. Are they doing anything? No. Again, always try to be active. Don't just stand about with your entire force in your base. That's pretty much a cardinal sin in company views. Being bloody inactive, being passive. I mean, even now the Brit, who's exactly not being, you know, any sort of highly competent player, is being more active than the Panzer Elite player. And again, it's even more distressing when you consider that the Panzer Elite is supposed to be the most mobile, most aggressive faction, and he's standing about with most of his force in his bloody base. That's really ought to be the main indicator that something's going wrong. I mean, you can even make a diagram and then sort of, am I standing about in my base as Panzer Elite? If yes, then you're doing something fucking wrong. Get a move on, and my apologies for swearing, but this is a pretty huge sin when playing as the Panzer Elite. You're not supposed to be just standing about. You're supposed to be always trying to attack, try to find the weakness in your opponent's defenses. In this case, we have a pretty huge one right here. I mean, a few Panzer Schrecks in here, and this is all going to fall apart like confetti, being hit by Panzer Schrecks. But again, he's not doing it. I mean, now we're seeing something, But I'm not even aware, is he going to be attacking there, or is he going to move through there to stop the bridge right there? There's so many things to take into account, and I'm wondering, is this fellow even doing anything? And now, again, standing about. Medics killed, but that seems to be about it. And Panzergunners moving in. Half-track under fire. Panzergunners moving in to put a stop to that. And one thing to note, mortar half-tracks aren't really the best tool against emplacement. Generally, mortar fire isn't. Panzer 6 tend to do a bit of a better job, but he's not really using that. Against them, isn't now. No. Now we are seizing some territory, and looks like a field support truck is up. Sappers have been prepared. But nothing's really happening with those sappers. Just standing about enjoying the weather, I suppose. Fair enough. Though some sort of activity would be nice. And now getting Marder 3s. There's been absolutely no armor. Of course, the Stuart might arrive, but at the same time, I have to wonder why. What the purpose is. Kittencrowd's coming under fire. Panzergrenadiers again standing about doing nothing. Not for example, you know, trying to find, oh, if there's a path up here. Could I perhaps attack from there and towards here? Could I destroy that mortar emplacement? Could I knock out that Vickers? Could I knock out that headquarters command shop? But again, nothing's bloody happening. He's just standing about. Perhaps waiting for those Marder 3s, but again, there's no armor, there's nothing really threatening you, so why wait for it? And will he be using it to attack the bases? I mean, it can be done, but oh well. And once more, half-track taking quite a bit of damage now from mortar fire, forced away. The light half-track, of course, is quite vulnerable to any sort of fire. Keep that in mind. Panzergrenadiers once more forced into action. And reconnaissance section is dead. Yes, indeed. And again. And then, for some time, nothing happens. Let's try speeding things up. Because again, you'll note, for a lot of time, and this is again considering he's a Panzer Elite player, nothing really happens. He moves about his troops a bit, repairs a bit. Some territory is seized, but that's about it. Again, he's not really doing what a Panzer Elite player ought to be doing, that is attacking and being aggressive. I mean, and even just harassing your opponent with mortar rounds is not really what you ought to be doing as the Panzer Elite. You ought to be attacking, you ought to be finding weaknesses. I mean, that's the strength. And of course, now that window of opportunity has been lost because he just couldn't get his ass into gear. And now notice here, he's moving up 2 Marder 3s. Yes, indeed, might work, but now he's just standing about with them beyond the base and not doing anything with them again. Inactiveness, passivity, doing absolutely bloody nothing. Not really good at all when you're playing the bloody Panzer Elite. You're supposed to be aggressive, you know, engaging an opponent, not sitting about twiddling your thumbs. And now Kittencrowd's also doing nothing. No doctrinal choice either. But really, I mean, he could knock out the entire British base with those few Marders right away, if he could so be asked. But again, he's not. He's just standing about, doing absolutely nothing. Bit of a huge problem there. Captain standing about. Infantry section in the north firing away as well with glee. Hitting his own troops with the mortar, because he's blobbing up a bit. Other troops, though, standing about, not really being engaged. And again, he's climbing up right next to a point, out in the open. Again, that's not what you want to be doing. Again, clumping up next to points is bad. I mean, imagine if your opponent could have hit you with mortar rounds. That would have been a lot of dead Panzer Grenadiers. Huge mistake. So again, let me spell it out for you. Do not clump up troops near points, particularly not victory points. And also, don't be inactive when you're playing as the Panzer Elite. For heaven's sake. Medics pulling in the wounded, completely unstopped. Again, climbing up troops next to the victory points. Marder 3s firing away at this Brent section, which seems actually warded off by all the heavy fire. But of course, the Marder 3s aren't attacking. They're doing absolutely nothing, really. They probably could be, but they're not. I mean, you could just cloak that Kittencrowd, sneak it up, get some good line of sight on that, and just blow it away with those Marder 3s. But he's not. He's not really doing anything here, where the British is in fact taking most of his territory. I mean, there's so many mistakes, and he has those kitten crowds, but he's doing nothing with them, really. So yeah, this is pretty much a Monday novice fight of the greatest kind. The one where there's a lot to really point out as being pretty damn terrible, and pretty much should be avoided. Now we are seeing a slit trench up, Captain hiding in it. Commandos getting ready, but we'll usually see them drop behind enemy lines, not behind your own lines. British Panzer Grenadiers getting hit by mortar rounds, getting shot up. Marder 3 still doing nothing. Bren Gunners dying. Commandos advancing for King George. I do believe it's actually time to have a look at Akula. My apologies. Assembly got caught up by Kaltraoir being, well, not the best at all in any measure. Lots of Panzer Grenadiers with Panzer Strikes. He's really expecting some sort of armor, but he's not really attacking again. Even he's being much too passive considering he's Panzer Elite. You're not supposed to be defensive. Not like that. I mean, Christ. This is pretty much how you ought not to be playing Panzer Elite. And again, had this been any more competent British player, again, the one who'd been, aggressive again, you should never just be defensive, play around like that, and perhaps wait to steamroll your opponent. This could have been over a lot sooner if either side could get their bloody arse into gear. Commandos. Panzer Grenadiers moving close to Commandos. Spare move there. I mean, you don't want to move into troops. Get up close to them who have submachine guns, yet he's doing that with Panzer Strike troops even. I mean, goodness gracious. The Commandos are dying, but I'm not entirely sure how that's going on. Perhaps because they're standing out in the bloody open. Marder 3 still not doing anything about that British space. Wait, there we go. Actually firing away. Finally using the kitten crowd to give a bit of line of sight. And now the sappers are moving in with Piets to put a stop to that. Kitten crowd will be discovered soon, I wager. Unless it moves. Move it, Mr. Kitten crowd, lest you fancy a Piet right up your throat. Panzer Grenadiers moving in to seize what they can here. I mean, again, he's being much, much too passive, inactive with his Panzer Grenadiers, with his kitten crowds, with everything. I mean, he's really committing the cardinal sins of company affairs and the Panzer Grenadiers in particular, inactiveness. Doing nothing and blobbing up. And now, of course, kitten crowd gone, Marder 3 buttoned up, awfully close to the Piats. Factory, though, on fire, so are the sappers inside. Will they get out in time? Marder 3 could be lost, engine is damaged, sappers moving out. And Piats right at the Marder. Destroyed engine, half-track will have to get out of there. Marder will not make it out of their wager.
Point is being overrun.
Tragic loss, out of control to a mortar round. And again we're seeing it. Clamping up with so many troops next to a victory point. Promise me you'll never do that and then send in a replay of you doing so. Otherwise I'm of course going to point it out in the next Monday Novice fight in a very nasty manner, because I really don't like that. Armor command truck is up, Cromwell's ready for King George, the Commonwealth, all that. So a bit of armor, and there's not really much in our friends here arsenal that can really stop that. He has a damaged Marder 3, he has some Luftwaffe that could repair that damaged Marder 3, he has a Wirbelwind, and he has a lot of Panzer Strikes, but again, considering how he's fighting, he might end up losing them quite easily. And again, clamping up, he's not doing anything with them. I mean, he easily could have been spreading them out to see some points at least, but he's not. And the Luftwaffe troops are not repairing that Marder 3, which they also could.
Germans are now at 300 points.
And the Germans, I mean the Panzer Elite, oh dear, now I'm just talking like that Commonwealth announcer, oh dear. But nonetheless, I mean, not really doing much. There's no energy, there's no go, and there's certainly no elite over this chap at all. So let's briefly pause. It's time for a mid-game analysis. How are things going? Absolutely atrocious for the Panzer Elite player. I mean, he's really really fumbled it in extreme. I mean, again, he's done absolutely everything he probably should have been doing with the Panzer Elite. I mean, he's really probably one of the cardinal examples how not to play the Panzer Elite. I mean, he's not playing it Panzer, he's not playing it Elite, he's not playing it aggressively, he's not playing it very mobile. I mean, that really ought to be the sort of key things again. If you're sort of playing Panzer Elite and you're sort of figuring, well, I'm standing about for the most of the time, I'm not really attacking, I'm not really trying to find any weak spots or anything, perhaps I shouldn't be playing the Panzer Elite because it really sounds like I'm playing them as the Wehrmacht, or possibly the British themselves. That really ought to be the sort of key things you ought to be inquiring yourself about. And in fact, currently the British player has actually been more aggressive than the Panzer Elite, which really is the key point where things, where a light perhaps ought to have gone up for a Panzer Elite friend, that things have gone very, very, very wrong. And again, the Marder fleet's not getting repaired, setting up a Flak 88, and there's a pretty huge problem with the placement here, and some of you are wondering, well, what's that? Well, of all the positions where you could have placed it, right here perhaps, he's placed it right here. Well, right here, there's something blocking the line of fire. Here, line of fire blocked. Here, line of fire blocked. Here, line of fire mostly blocked. There's in fact only this, and perhaps this, and where will the enemy probably appear from? Here, probably, but then again, you could just sneak through here, and that Flak 88 wouldn't be able to do anything about it. I mean, this isn't exactly the best placement of a Flak 88. I mean, I'm not even sure what it's supposed to do. Bit of a waste of resources, and still he's not repairing that Marder 3. And the Panzer Grenadiers are still blobbing up now, in fact, in even greater measure, and they're still not taking territory. Oh dear. Let's return to the fight a bit. And really, Mr. Kaltraoir really needs to get his bloody act together. He needs to stop blobbing about out in the open against troops with automatic weapons. That's really, again, the stupid thing to do. You do not run up to troops with automatic weapons like Brents and Stens. That rhymed? That's just stupid. I mean, he suffered probably a lot heavier losses than he probably needed to. Right out here. Be able to win advancing, forcing away some Brits. 3 kills. That's a minor blessing, I suppose. And, oh dear, no. He must have set it about building, but he's not. But then he must have given some other order, and then now they're not actually doing it. Oh no. Cromwell being fired up on the Marder 3, which of course isn't repaired. Panzer troops retreating. Marder 3 now easy target for the Cromwell. Flak 88 not being built. I mean, there seems to be an absolute lack of awareness of what's going on with his own troops. I mean, he's not doing anything, he's just sort of... I mean, he really needs to work on his situational awareness. Really seems to be one of the primary things here. I mean, he needs to work on what's going on everywhere in his base, in the enemy's base. I mean, wherever he can see, and that's really not happening at the moment. I mean... He's got a lot of the territory not in his own control. He's got troops blobbed up next to victory points, and he's got a Flak 88 which is not being built at all. Yet he's not noticing it. I mean, things like these do take training, but you really ought to be taking careful eye when you have a Flak 88. You know your opponent probably would have been close to it. At this stage, you don't hear the crack of the Flak 88, the crack of death and doom. And again, I mean, Christ.
A sector is being overrun.
Another Cromwell on the move. Was it the same? No, it's a new one. Wirbelwind's under fire now. Not really able to do much. It's a Flak Panzer, not a Panzer. There's a slight difference.
HQ is down.
Flak Panzer needs to retreat. Panzer Shakers moving in to support. Flak 88 still not being built. Panzer Gun is still clumping up.
Is being overrun.
Wirbelwind finally pulling out of there. Panzer Shakers moving in. Missing in an absolutely spectacular manner. Flanking speed, and the Cromwell gets out of there. The rest of the British army is nowhere to be seen. That's a pretty huge problem as well. I mean, he's climbing up troops and not doing anything with them, like, say, supporting your bloody armor. I mean, again, support your tanks with infantry. Don't send that tank in on its own. And there we go, flag 88 spotted, and of course completely unfinished. I mean, what is this, the Soviet Union? Kettenkraut knocked out. Cromwell on the move, Panzer X flying, downing the main gun. Will the Cromwell make it out of their life? And finally moving about his British horde of death. And apparently he's left an infantry section in the trench. Why? Oh dear. Lieutenant on the way. Cromwell knocked out. 2 Wirbelwinds now. British troops engaging the Panzer Grenadiers and Brits out in the open again. Don't just stand about, use cover for heaven's sake. And now he's charging in with everything, but note. Very important thing about Bren guns, just like the LMG-42, these are light machine guns. Light machine guns do not fire on the move. You're not bloody Rambo. And even if you are, you're going to have to stand still to sort of make that roar. You can't move about while firing. So again, just moving across this, and again, a very important lesson with LMGs, again, don't move. And expect to fire, stand still with him, and then unleash all kinds of hell. He probably could have won that fight if he hadn't been charging. He probably might end up losing it, in fact. Panzer grenades firing from the rear, incendiary grenades getting lobbed. Panzer Shake is being run away for no apparent reason, because again they for some reason charged right at the automatic weapons. There we go. Lots of automatic fire cover being denied, though through incendiary grenades, that's positive. But still too many guns. No attempt at using that building for increased protection. Panzer Grenadier team lost. I mean, again, terrible use of cover. Panzer Support Command upgraded. Let's go return, in fact, to Kaltraoir. More Luftwaffe troops being called in. Another Kettenkraut. High wastage among troops. Wirbelwinds were not called in to support this fight. I mean, why? Again, seems to be poor coordination of his own troops. Luftwaffe troops hanging about there. Although in this case, I'm willing to suspect there might actually be a bug with them. Since he's calling a new one, at least I hope so. And since, of course, they're actually moving about like that, they're not spreading out. That would at least to me indicate that there might actually be a bug going on. So I'm actually willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on that and the flag 88, I suppose, but still he ought to have noticed it a lot earlier and at least cancel that flag 88 and give himself back those resources.
Infantry section ready.
I think nothing's going to happen again. Let's speed this up a bit. Waiting for the inevitable Brit counterattack. Command truck ready. Firefly ready. Butterfly bombs being called in. No, Panther battle group getting ready. Lots of butterfly bombs. Securing a few victory points. Things are very close somehow in that department. Not a lot of territory though, not a lot of population to sort of benefit those Panthers. And there we go, British are on the move. Luftwaffe troops standing about while taking heavy fire. Not very good. Wait, there we go, they've actually moved, so I'm not entirely sure if that was actually a bug or just some sort of laziness. Or casting things into doubt. Luftwaffe troops getting torn apart by all the automatic fire. Wirbelwind coming under fire from the Firefly. Wirbelwinds weren't really meant to take that sort of firepower against them. These troops though getting suppressed. But the heavy fire Panzer moving in to support. About damn time we saw some coordination of firepower. Firefly gets too awfully close. Mine hit. Panzer Shreks flying at the Firefly, but a lot of them don't actually do much. Firefly knocked out. Brits are retreating. Firefly is a bit lonely on the battlefield. Panzer Shreks flying at it. Will it survive? Lots of anti-tank grenades flying out of nowhere, it seems. And then he's stopping up, not continuing, and again clumping up right next to a point. Now artillery getting called in. Kaltraoir. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were begging to be sent to the Eastern Front. And in the case of our friend of the British, he's probably begging being sent to Burma. Rifle Grenadiers getting sent back.
Auftragseingang.
And Panther Battle Group getting ready. At least that's a slight clever strategy right there. Of course, getting Panthers and hitting your opponent with those quite a bit. So at least he got something right there. Panthers can usually help. In particular when your opponent has Fireflies. Of course, against infantry they might be having a bit of difficulty, but they can still do alright. Although Panzer IVs, no matter what kind, are usually a better choice. But on this Panzerkampfwagen 5th Panther Panzer. And the Brits are on the move. While he's moving his Panthers toward the base, the Brits are on the move somewhere else. Will they be reacting to the fact that the Panther Battle Group is attacking the base? Nope. He is in fact ignoring the fact that his base is getting hammered by 2 Panthers. Luftwaffe troops hiding in here. From the administrative building, far away, coming under fire. Butterfly bombs being thrown into the path. Let's return to Akula. Luftwaffe troops getting out of there, right at the wrong door, and getting slaughtered. And one thing to note when you're doing this, again, there's a sort of trick you can do when you're retreating, that you can sort of decide which door, for example, the one right in front of the enemy, or the one away from the enemy. How do you do that? Well, you click on here, then there's this sort of unit icon there, you click on it, click on the unload button, which should be somewhere there, of course I can't see from that, and then you click it where you actually want them to exit, which there's a door there, or the closest one to that point, and they actually get out of there. That could really have helped him right there, but instead again, Luftwaffe troops absolutely massacred, thanks to a brilliant move by Kaltraoir. And the Brits are attacking the base. Are they taking the best route? No, they're taking this sort of very close, claustrophobic route with, of course, little maneuver room for the Panzers. Or their tanks, well, Panzers if you're German, I suppose. I mean, Panzer was basically the German word for tank. Artillery getting called in. Lots of it, in fact. Firefly. He knocks out the Wirbelwind, but comes under fire from the Panzerjacks. And again, he can't really move because, again, it's too close quarters. I mean, that is where Panzerjacks are effective, up close. Yet he moved it right in there, charging in now with all of his troops. Artillery getting called in. Now the Brit troops are in fact surrounded right here. Panthers moving in from all sides, Wirbelwinds. Captain is veteran 1, but I doubt he'll survive it, and certainly that command tank will not be making it out of there alive. Demo charges. Retreating. Something on the way from the Panzer command. Demo charge goes off, damaging the Panzer command, but that's about it.
As rep shows, we lost a lieutenant.
Lieutenant dead. Rifle Grenadiers moving about here. Kettenkraut forgotten. Seems to be that our friend Kaltraoir forgets a lot. Group seal is ready. Certainly makes your troops stronger. Brits running straight through all these butterfly mines. That's less than helpful. Base is surprisingly though standing, despite 2 Panthers being right through it. Of course they might return to finish the job. And sappers very dead. Will the assault continue with the glorious Panthers? Please? Let's just finish this. No. Right, let's speed things up again. Until... oh, wait, there we go. And the Panthers are firing out the trench, not at everything but the trench, because they can't really do much against units in a trench. A slit trench is in fact excellent thing of protection, and of course fires or grenades are involved. Or incendiary grenades for that matter, but apparently he's not focusing on the emplacements, thus clearing the way for his infantry. He's focusing on the trench. That seems quite a waste. Commandos charging the Panzer command again, laying down another demolition charge. No idea why, but now it's gone. Commandos running away with extremely heavy losses, only 1 man alive. Machine gun emplacement almost gone. Brits hiding near the armor command track. Not getting reinforced. let's speed things up again. This is actually looking a bit silly. Headquarters command truck getting handed down. Finished off by the Panthers. A light fighting right here. Luftwaffe troops finished off a Rifle Grenadier section. Headquarters is gone. Firefly on the way, but there we go. Panthers finishing off the rest. Slit trench still there, so the chaps in it. Firefly on the move. And immediately getting knocked out by Panzer ships. That was absolutely not brilliant. And now the rest, very rest, are hiding right here. Panthers moving in for the kill.
Getting knocked out an MG nest.
Luftwaffe troops absolutely massacred right there. Again, they were building something, but were forgotten about. Bad move. Panthers knocking out all the rest. British troops getting slaughtered. And once more the commandos run in, hit a butterfly bomb, and they are dead. And another headquarters command truck going. All that is left is, in fact, this armor command truck, which is apparently not being found. And GG, there we go. Game over. A very sad fight with a lot of mistakes, a lot of flaws, a lot of bad things. And of course, what can we learn from this? Well, besides the obvious of don't clump up your troops out in the bloody weapon open against bloody automatic weapons. I mean, that was bad. Of course, don't clump up your troops next to points. That's not going to help except your opponent if he has mortars or grenades or something like that, in which case you're helping him, not yourself. Use cover. I mean, really, there was absolutely very little actual cover usage here. Not good at all. No mining. No real unit preservation. No coordination of troops. I mean, for example, the Flak 88, that was clearly Soviet standards for actually getting things done. Flag Feeling right here, which were discovered by commandos, absolutely slaughtered. Moving about in the open, sending in the Pantrex first at will. Automatic weapons, and then of course he did absolutely nothing for long periods of time. Stood about in his base, stood about outside the enemy base, but he didn't attack. He could have used the mortars to knock out the defenses and then charge in, but he didn't. He could have flanked early on, but he didn't. I mean, there were a lot of things, but he didn't do them. He didn't do anything at all. He was being passive, inactive, and sitting about with his thumbs up his arse. I mean, he was really doing all the things he ought not be doing as the Panzer Elite. And the British player was certainly not being very good either. But at least he was, for the most part, being somewhat more aggressive. And the only thing that saved our friend here were the Panthers. I mean, had he hadn't gotten them, he would probably been utterly devastated, crushed and slaughtered. And this game probably would have lasted even longer. I mean, this game could have easily been over 20 minutes ago had someone had the idea of actually doing something proper and attacking in a decent manner, using cover. So, there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, well, there's always tomorrow where there isn't a Monday novice fight where we actually try to teach some very important lessons about more novice mistakes. Or you can always send in a replay of your own. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.